Hello everybody, just giving you an update on where we are with the group of cascade trees that I decided to create a little while back. So I just thought I'd do a quick update on some of them, as I've just noticed that the wire is beginning to bite into a couple of the trees in a couple of places, so I'm going to have to remove the wire on these trees. I'm going to cut the wire off rather than try and unwire these trees, which it can be done, and I quite often would prefer to reuse the wire, but these trees are quite thin, quite delicate, so I think it's actually going to be better for them if I cut the wire and remove it that way. It seems that they're holding quite well, so I'm going to turn the camera off and cut the rest of this wire off, and then we can have a look at the trees individually. Okay, so closer inspection. The wire hasn't actually begun to bite into this tree at the moment, this Cypress, so I'm going to leave the wire on for a little while longer. What I am going to do is start pinching out some of these growing tips, try and persuade it to back bud so we can start creating branch pads as the years go on. So I'm just pinching out the growing tips, so our will back bud quite profusely wherever there is still green material. They will back bud onto old wood, but reluctantly so, not reliably. But yeah, unlike a lot of coniferous trees, they will back bud, like a yew will. So yeah, just a bit of pinching out on some of these growing tips, just to keep the tree compact, get it bushing out, creating those foliage pads. And that's pretty much it for this tree. If we go to the Cotoneaster, that has actually put on quite a lot of growth here at the end, as you can see. At the end, at the base of the trunk, top of the trunk, the apex. I always get confused with cascade trees. What do you call the top of the tree when it's the bottom? But there you are. Anyway, so as you can see, yes, it's growing really well. There are a few scars where the wire has cut in. You can see this wire I've taken off those 3 deciduous trees. I don't like to waste wire, I prefer to reuse before I recycle, and recycling always comes before wasting, but yeah, reusing should come before recycling. I'm just going to again shorten back some of these pieces to encourage the tree to begin to branch, so I can begin to form a basic structure from the trunk. Got a couple of very low branches there which can be got rid of. It's nice to see them. From the flower there is a little berry. Let's trim that back to there, that gives us that movement. So yeah, so that's all there is for that one. The little apple tree again has put on some nice growth, and it has taken a nice shape from the wiring. So now all we need to do is start to build some branch structure over the next few years. Finally, the little goat willow. Again, it's grown very well. The wire was starting to bite in, going to cut that piece off because it's crossing and not showing off the shape of the trunk. Likewise, this sucker can go, and this inward facing branch. I'm going to leave this on. Whether I keep it and train it into a top at some point, I don't know. Take that off from the inside of that branch. I really like this sweeping curve, so I'd like branches to be coming off in this direction and showing off that sweeping curve. I'm just going to shorten everything else that's coming off. I'm going to shorten that back as well. This piece I may wire next year into this outward facing position. But yeah, so just to say that, you know, you can create a cascade tree relatively easily, or the beginnings of one. You know, these trees haven't had one full growing season yet, and already have some promise, I like to think. And likewise, I'm beginning to get the build-ups with these Lonicera, shrubby honeysuckles. Just trim away some of these long pieces on the crown, and then we can start building some branch structures onto this trunk. I'm just keeping it in check for the time being. This little trunk is only a very little trunk, got a lot of fattening up to do. So this is my perceived front. It needs to go into a better pot because obviously the pot has had I've had a mishap with this pot. But I think the tree has some promise. I hope you can see that. So again, that's it, just some basic bit of trimming back. And likewise this tree, the sucker to come out from there. Some of these tall shoots need to come off, and I want to trim that back so you can see that there is a branch coming off a trunk. Likewise down here, just clearing away stuff that's growing directly out of the trunk in the wrong direction, crossing in the wrong place, etc. And gradually we'll start turning these into little foliage pads and branches. Just cutting away. I suppose in a sense it's a bit like sculpting when they talk about taking away the bits of plaster or not plaster, marble rather, until you have the statue inside is revealed. In this case, kind of removing the foliage until you begin to see a branch pad revealed. So yeah, so it's going to be a question of just taking these side pieces, cutting away pieces, and gradually beginning to build up some branch pads. This is a job you need to keep on top of because it will get out of hand quite quickly. And if it does, it can be difficult to see what you're chopping, what you're not chopping, and where branches are coming from, and it only takes one snip to remove an entire branch at this stage, which would be a bit of a drawback. But I do like to remove some foliage from the branches so you can actually see where they're coming from, and that is a branch, this is a branch, and so on. So yeah, so that's it for those trees. There is a juniper as well, which I'm not going to do any work on, so I've just left that on the bench. I hope you can see that, creating, I know some people think cascade trees are really difficult, but I think, there is no real mystery. Trees can be wired into whatever shape you want. Sometimes you can find a trailing, a plant with a trailing habit, such as these, such as a Cotoneaster. There's a type of Cotoneaster which I had the name in my head as I started this sentence, and it's gone now. Horizontalis, something like that, which is often used as a ground cover plant, or used to be. Possibly out of fashion now, the way things go. But because they have a trailing habit, they make very good cascade plants as well, cascade trees as well. So that's about it for this video. We'll go and have a quick look at the large Cotoneaster, which is in full berry at the moment, and the berries are just starting to turn to red, so it's looking quite attractive, I feel. So let's go and do that. Okay, and finally, just to finish off with a few shots of this Cotoneaster cascade tree. Not much to be done with it this time, just snipping a few wayward shoots, but as you can see, the berries are now colouring up, and as it always does, this tree always looks really pretty, and a little bit like Christmas, when the berries finally turn red. That is until the birds get them, but I don't begrudge them that. So yeah, just a few snips here and there, just to keep it in shape. So thank you for watching, and as always, please do take care of yourselves.